Hi everyone, Josephat Blaise here from Tradable Online Services, and I'm glad to be taking you through this lecture today on Trendline Trading Strategies. So here is the risk warning. Please pause this video, take a good look at this risk warning, fully understand it before proceeding. So a quick note here, if you're new to Trendlines, please ensure you have gone through the basic course before watching this video. Alright, if you do not know anything about Trendlines or you've not gone through our basic course, please do well to go through it, all right? Because there are some basics that will not be, speaking about here, and might actually get you quite confused in the process, all right? Because this is on a strategy. This is a trendline trading strategy. We're not going to be dealing with the basics, so please do well to refer to the basic course to get appropriate knowledge on the basics. So here are entry rules, trendline strategy. All right, here we'll be dealing with the 1 hour or the 15 minutes. Some people do trade trendline on the H4 1 hour, the H4, the daily, and so on. And even some others even scalp it, all right? But here we're dealing with 15 minutes and the H1, all right? So these are the entry rules. So you have the first one, which is check the news. Oops, sorry about that. You have the first one, which says check the news, spot a trend line. All right, the first thing to do is check the news. The second is to spot a trend line. A third is to ensure that it has tested once or twice. All right, it has been tested once or twice if possible. But we check for a double confirmation. Then we wait for a reversal once it hits the trend. Then we can make our entry on the second reversal candle. Please take note of this second reversal candle, super important, guys. Then, of course, we have our stop loss and TP set, which should of course take us out of those trades, either in a loss or in a win. All right, so we're going to have all these applied so you see what they actually mean and in real time. So here we have the strategy in display, but checking the news, we refer to the previous videos we made on various trading sessions, and then the lecture 2 of the basic course, which speaks about the various how to deal with fundamental news and so forth and so on. So please do well to check the news. So when I say check the news, you know what I mean, right? Super important. That's part of the basic course. All right, so here you have the very first part, to spot a trend line. Right, how you spot a trend line? Simply zoom out of your charts. You're going to have and then join the heads, the highs of the price. We're going to do all that in real time, right? But let me just zoom through the strategy real quick, then we get to the chart and have that in real time. So we see this trend line, ensure that it has been tested once or twice if possible. So you can see this trend line, all right? Price broke here, came back to retest. So this was the very first test on the trend line, all right? And this was the very first test on the trend line. Then we have the second here. Okay, so this is second retest on this trend line. All right, and if I zoom in on this, you can see we have a retest here and another retest here on the same trend line, another one here. All right, all these weeks retesting are actually quite important. All right, and that's where we take our entry. So we have the trend line being tested once, twice, all right, before making our entry on the third retest. All right, so that's super important. All right, so let's go back to the rules. So it has been tested once or twice. Check for a double confirmation. So our double confirmation in this case is what is our support zone that we see here. So this is the support. Can you see that it was a resistance zone before, broken became a support. All right, broken, all right, now becomes a resistance. All right, so now it's a resistance zone, but it was a support. All right, so you can see that this is very, very reliable as a double confirmation, this resistance zone here. All right, and that's our double confirmation in this case. Wait for a reversal once the price hits the trend line. So I'm going to zoom in again so you can see that clearly. All right, so the price hit the trend line the very first time here. All right, let me get the pen to be able to see that. So the price tested the trend line the very first time here. Can you see that? Then it came down here, then we have a retest. This was our entry point with this wick that wicked out here. This was our entry point. Can you see that? So we have that as our entry. Let me clean it up so you'll be able to see real well. Sorry about that. Okay, go to zoom in a bit so you can see that clearly. All right, so we have the very first retest here, the second one here, and this was our entry point. This candle actually took us into the trade. All right, as you can notice there. So it has been tested once with the double confirmation in check. Please, that's super important. So at the second retest, that's when we got in. All right, so we have a very clear rejection. That's a reversal. Can you see that? After it tested, we had the first bearish candle, second bearish candle, third bearish candle, fourth, and so on before we had a retracement. Then finally went all the way down. So that is our rejection. Sorry. So we have the reversal there that we have, and then entry should be made on second reversal candle. Zoom in again, so you see that. So you see this where the rejection, of course. Then if you were to, some people of course could be quite aggressive with this and just take an entry on this candle here and identify that. Let me mark it out so you can see on this candle here, the second candle here. Can you see that? But some of course would be quite patient as well and decide, like I, for example, I made my entry right here. Can you see that? This was the wick that got me in. And we check is, of course, coinciding with the second reversal candle. It could be directly on the second reversal candle in your case, or maybe you set a pending order and it gets triggered as well. That's awesome. All right, very, very important, because the trend line sets acts as a support and a resistance as well. And we have a double confirmation of a resistance zone here. So that gives us all assurance that our stop loss is well protected, that your entry, your pending order will simply be triggered and getting into that trade with a good profit. All right, taking you out. So that's pretty awesome. Then you have your stop loss and TP must be set. So in this case, this is our take profit and this is our stop loss. Can you see that? So we have the trend line in red. Can you see that? And by the trend line, this is the support zone now turned to resistance. This is our entry made at second reversal candle. This is our take profit. Can you see that in green? All right, and why did we set the take profit here? Remember, this is quite a significant support zone. It was a resistance now turned into support. Can you see that? All right, so we took profit out at this point, or even lock your profits to that point. Anyways, any means you like to do it. This is a nice and reliable TP for this entry. So you could see we have another scenario, but not exactly the same thing, just right beside it. Can you see that? So this is not reliable. Can you see that? All right, it's not reliable because why? Why? Because it's not. We do not have the price bounce on the trend line. And if you check all our entries, our entry rules, this is not going to go. Okay, let's get back to it. Check the trend line. Okay, spot the trend line and stop price. Has been tested. The trend line has been tested at least twice. All right, once or twice, and check for a bubble confirmation and so forth. You come here, you see that yes, the price is not bouncing. Yes, the trend line has been tested once and twice, but the price is not bouncing on the trend line. Can you see that? And if we have a double confirmation, yes, we have a double confirmation. Can you see this level? Can you see that? Very strong resistance zone, rejected the price twice. Can you see that? And it acted as a support around here. Can you see that? So there's all that confirmation, but the price did not test the trend line, and therefore it renders this invalid. Can you see that? And of course, it went well. If you got into this trade, you are going on well, but it doesn't work with the rules. We don't do that. Right, that's super important. But we had other entries here, all right, which is pretty awesome. So on a trend line, you have the tendency of having multiple entries, all right, multiple entry opportunities. So once you miss one here, let's say you miss this one, all right, and because this was not valid, you could still have the opportunity of getting here, and here. Remember, we said, like I emphasized, on the second reversal candle. Now this is the use of the entering on the second reversal candle. Can you see this wick here? So someone that was quite aggressive with this entry and maybe set a pending order without having the second reversal candle form is simply going to be taken out by this impulsive move here. But by just simply waiting for the second reversal candle, you could have avoided being stopped out in a stupid loss just by having your second reversal candle form and getting an entry with it, and that would have taken you quite. There's a minute retracement here, but remember we said previous support of resistance. Can you see that in the on the previously formed price chart? Can you see that here? So we have our entry, second reversal candle. Yes. Can you see that? Where is your next support or resistance here? This is it. Can you see that? There's a resistance zone all around here. Mark it out for you. Can you see that? This is it was a support zone, now turned, of course, to a support zone here. Can you see that? So this should be your TP. You enter here, your SL, somewhere around here. You're good. All right. That's like around 1 to 1.5. That's awesome. Okay. And even if you decide to target this low, let's say you decide to target this low. Let me raise this. Sorry. Let me raise this. Let's say you decided to target this low, right, for your TP. You could still have, you still have taken profit even with this minute retracement. Why? Because you simply waited for the second reversal candle. Can you see that? So that's super important, guys. All right. So let's move on. This is another example here. We have the trend line once again. All right. The price has been tested. The trend line, of course, tested once. Can you see that? Trend line tested once here. This is the second retest. Can you see that? And that's our entry. Can you see that? All right. And in this second retest, what happened? We entered on the second reversal candle. All right. Here you can see. Okay, someone will say, okay, we have a very long bearish candle here. So how come in this case, blah blah. All right. Here you have the first. There are other, I would say, there are other significant, candlestick patterns, all right, that you would see that would help you actually, that can also justify an entry. In this case, you can see. Let me zoom in a bit so you can see what I'm going to speak about. Can you see how price, found the body of each and every one of these candles are almost the same places, are almost the same heights, and all these are just wicks, which is showing this strong bearish momentum on the market at this particular price point. Can you see this long bearish candle? Very strong rejection after hitting the trend line. So we have a retest on that same trend line with a lot of wicks this time because the price tries to break off it, or it couldn't because of the strong bearish pressure at that point. So this is actually a significant, entry signal, I would say, exactly at this point. Or you could simply wait, right, for it to break the body of this candle and then make your entry somewhere around here, or even after this support zone, right? Any one of the two, it works fine. I decided to use this example so you know the different entries that you might have using this strategy. All right, so that's super important, guys. So you have the take profit zone around here. This is your entry, this is stop loss, and so forth. So you have other. Can you see we have other entries here that we tested once? The second reversal candle here, we get in. All right, your stop loss here, your TP, take profit, nice trade. Another one here, okay, and so forth. And the trend line was broken around this region and so forth. So that's another example that you have on this trend line strategy. So please pause this video at this point, take a good look at this, make sure you understand how we got to that point, how the strategy works out before we proceed. All right, so now let's get to the charts. Well, sorry about this. Someone might ask, how do I have this? This is simply your sticky note that shows that is here, right, on your Windows, whatever. So you simply just type in your rules, your entry and exit rules. Then you have that, by the side of your screen while on the chart. So how do you identify the trend line? That was the very first question. I identified some here, but let's okay, we can just work with it. Let me delete it so you just see how simple that is to do. Can you see this? So I get to a chart, for example, this is my H1. When I come here, then I just simply zoom out to the marks. All right, and then I have my trend line 2, of course, here. Can you see that trend line? Then I just simply come and join can you see this? These are the higher lows. I simply try to join as much as I can with the trend line. All right, and you have something like this. this is a trend line, it's a reliable trend line. So what you do is this: you simply zoom in. After zooming in, then you can decide to join the tips. Can you see that it's the wick of the candle, all right, and that of the trend line together? Can you see this? Now this is actually more smooth than it should be, than it was actually when it was when we zoomed that and through. All right, so we could equally draw on that trend line here, making the channel. All right, draw on that trend line here, making the channel. You can see that. Just try to join. It might not be perfect. That's awesome. Just try to join many highs as possible, as many highs as possible, and you have that here. I think we have that here. All right, over here, and you have it. You have that. So I just simply come to adjust a few things. All right, can you see that? So we have a channel here. Can you see that? We have a channel there, but these are all trend lines. All right, so in conjunction with our strategy, we check the news. All right, you know how to do that. That's how you spot the trend line. Okay, so first, like we said, zoom out, find a smooth trend. You do not do this how you can't find a trend. You can't draw a trend line here, but it's not so reliable. Right? You don't do that in ranging markets like here now, for example. You can find a trend line, but very in terms of this is a downward, this is a bearish momentum, and then there has to be a very smooth one. This is a very smooth bearish momentum, so we could get a trend line there. This is not smooth. Can you see that? So we do not have a trend line here. All right. Some people could say, okay, I see something here. I'm going to draw it. I'm going to do something of it. Well, it's not so reliable because it can be broken up anytime, as you see there. But when you have situations, even in a ranging market such as this, but you have a very smooth bearish momentum, this is nice, and you could have a trend line there. So I'm telling you, I'm trying to explain the different scenarios that in this trend line of a thing, how to identify it. So in this case, for example, someone might say this is a reliable trend line. Well, I'm quite against that idea, because remember, if it's not a very smooth uptrend, I am not so I'm not so keen on considering the trend line. Here you could see very nice bearish momentum. See, comes retest it. But in this case, see, it was broken once, and imagine if this was when you wanted to have your entry. So I do not quite I don't quite consider that to be reliable. All right, and that's exactly what we're talking about here. You see, this is a nice downtrend. We decide to have a trend line here. Pretty awesome. All right, so let's just work with the first one we figured out. Let's work with it. Okay, so we have that. So ensure it has been tested once. So this trend line formed here. It got the first test here. Can you see that? Let me take this off so it doesn't confuse you. So we have the very first test of this trend line. Let me mark it out here. All right, let's change this to red so we'll be able to see better. Let's change that to red. Okay, that's awesome. So this is the first test we had on this trend line. So ensure that we tested once. So check for a double confirmation. Our double confirmation, like I said, at this point, we could find a double confirmation. Simply, most times you can just use your I'm sorry, let me just change this line. All right, your horizontal line. Okay, choose your horizontal line, and okay, this is better. So we have this at this region to try to identify a support or resistance. Can you see that? So this is as simple as it is. So it's simply using my horizontal line, I simply just come to this level and try to identify a support or a resistance zone. Some people can use the Fibonacci at this level, no problem. Whatever is good for you, it's fine. But I prefer using the horizontal line. All right, that's way simpler and just easier. So I have this here as a very reliable. Can you see that? That's a resistance zone here. So I'm just going to leave that there. This was my first retest, another retest there. Then came another one here. Can you see that? So I'm only comfortable, remember, when my double confirmation also checks. So I have a double confirmation here, but price is still ranging within the double confirmation and the trend line. So here I'm not getting in at this point. I'll wait for it to break out of this resistance zone. So that happened here. Can you see that? It broke off again and it came to retest. Some people could have gotten in here, no problem, and you'd have been stopped out. That's part of it. No strategy is 100% efficient. All right, but look at this. It comes back for a retest, and at this retest, remember we said a second reversal candle. entry to make on second reversal candle. So this is the first reversal candle. Can you see that? This first one, this is the first reversal. Let me zoom in a bit so you see that clearer. So this first green candle is the first reversal candle, and this is the second reversal candle. So this is my entry point. So this has happened, all right, and then I can make an entry here with my stop loss. You know, this is going to be about 30 pips stop loss, no problem. All right, and you have, remember, if your risk to reward is 1 to 1.5, whatever it is, you have that, and you know, that 60 pips, right? So 1 to 2, that we 1 to 2, 90, 1 to 3, and so forth. All right, so exactly as you had to have it. So like I told you earlier, you have multiple entries on the trend line. Look at this. There was another retest here. All right, there was another retest here. So simply, I think this is a very nice example as well. We have a retest, okay, and then there was a reversal candle. Can you see that? But we didn't have a second reversal candle, so I'm not entering on this. I'll wait for this candle. So I can make an entry, all right, at this candle, but not at this candle, because this is not and was not a reversal candle. It was only a second reversal candle. This was our first reversal candle, bullish candle, after two bearish candles hitting the trend line. I'm expecting to have a bullish candle here, not a bearish. So I'm not going to make an entry here, but rather I'll make an entry at this third candle, and then ride the trend all the way. My stop loss, all right, and my TP at the previous high, which is okay, and then that's nice 29 pips in, and so forth. So you see the trend line was broken at this point, and so on. All right, so there are so many. See, this is another trend line. You see that you have your retest, second reversal candle here. You have your entry made. All right, your TP pretty cool. Stop loss awesome. Can you see that? You have your second reversal candle here. The stop loss, the take profit here. But if you decide to trail the trend, you will have that all the way here. And you see that the trend line might not be perfect. You see, my trend line is not so perfect. So do not say you're going to get your trend line so perfect and so forth. It's normal that the price wicks out of the trend line at times and so forth. So do not try to get your trend line so perfect and so forth. Just do the best you can in connecting all the. You see, you could have a trend line here and so on and so forth. They are actually everywhere. See this, all right? We have the and yes, it's important that I actually bring to your knowledge. I really do not. Yes, you could have trend line in ranging markets, but I really do not recommend that to you, because of it has its disadvantages. It's very very much preferable to have a clean market structure, right? An uptrend, a downtrend, instead than to you could have a nice trend line, like I said earlier, in a ranging market, but it's really not recommended, guys, because let me show you why. So you can see here you have the retest right at the trend line. If you're going to make an entry on the second reversal candle, that will be all the way here. So look at the distance. So that's over 20 pips, all right, and your TP will be around 26 pips. So that's just 20 to 26 is not so considerable, and also your risk is your stop loss margin to your entry is quite high, so it's not so awesome, right? And that's it. That's the simple. That's the only reason why, all right? And yeah, so try your best, right, to identify. You see, this is a very smooth market, and it's a very smooth market structure. Can you see that? Very nice. See the lower lows and higher lows. So that's a very nice market structure. So what I do here is I simply cover my risks, my rules, and everything. After I identify my trend line, tested twice on this third bounce. Can you see that second reversal candle here? I get in, boom. That's a nice TP right there. You see that 50 pips. I could even reach as low as 15 pips and still have my 50 pips, which are pretty awesome. Pips for that day. So that's how you have that until the trend line is broken. So there are multiple entries on the trend line like we indicated earlier, and so on. So do well to practice that as you proceed. So I'm leaving you here with the quotes. I'm here to build something for the long term. Anything else is a distraction. All right. So as you practice this strategy, you will have ideas and so on. But please, I admonish you to ensure you fully get a hand of the strategy, all right? And how do you have a hand of the strategy? By the results you get when you use it to trade. All right, so fully get a hand of the strategy before trying to implement your ideas into it.